The Dallas Stars were shut out for the fourth time this postseason by the Edmonton Oilers, 3-0 in Game 2. Unfortunately, that's the least of their worries as their number one center, Roope Hintz, was taken out of the game, and his status looms large for the Stars' chances in the series.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Dallas Stars shut out in Game 2 by the Edmonton Oilers by a final score of 3-0 here tonight as the Oilers tie up the series before heading back to Edmonton for Game 3. But it's the Roope Hintz injury that really looms large for the Dallas Stars. They could be without their number one center for the foreseeable future, and that certainly stings from a Stars perspective. And we're going to get into all of that today on a Game 2 reaction episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I was going to try to hold off on the Hintz conversation until the second segment, but I'm just going to dive into it because I have a lot of thoughts. First off, it was an obvious attempt to injure. If you're Darnell Nurse, I really don't know how else to explain it. He takes a two-hand chop at the top of Roope Hintz's foot. I don't really know how that is anything other than an intent to injure. And I know there's slashing in the game of hockey, and there's some love taps here and there. I don't think that one qualified as a love tap, seeing that Roope Hintz had to leave the game. But this is where it really gets me. And I was going to make this point, but then Pete DeBoer said it for me in his post-game press conference. Here's a quote, does anyone in this room think if Connor McDavid gets carried off the ice like that, it's not a 5-minute major? Drop the mic. Exactly my point. That was going to be my exact point. If that happens to Connor McDavid, that's a 5-minute power play. They don't even think about it. They don't even think about it. And that's the sad part. And then you have Dave Jackson, the NHL rules analyst. He's pretty much a joke to begin with. And then he goes in to say that the results don't influence the decision. All right. Well, when you draw blood with a high stick, it kind of influences that it's 4 minutes instead of 2. I can't wait in 20 years down the line, maybe it's 10 years, I hope it happens quicker, that we realize having these officials on broadcast was just a complete waste of time and a joke. I can't wait for 20 years down the line, we get to the point where you're like, man, why did we ever do that? That was stupid. Because they never added anything to the broadcast. They never add anything interesting. They never add anything of influence or impact. They just say a bunch of nonsense. Like, why bring them on broadcast? They get paid a lot of money to just sit there and absolutely add nothing to the product. I can't wait in a couple of years when we look back and be like, that was kind of a weird time when we kept having these officials that retired on the broadcast, when really we just want to hear announcers or broadcasters just tell it how it is. It was vicious. Look, it probably should have been a 5-minute. It wasn't. And look, the Stars played awful tonight. Well, they didn't play awful. They actually, I didn't think were that half bad tonight. And we're gonna touch on some of that. But I think DeBoer makes the point, right? Does anyone in the room think if Connor McDavid gets carried off like that, it's not a 5-minute major? Exactly. I don't really know if there's anything else to say there. And there's no update on Roope Hintz till this point. And look, it doesn't change the outcome of the game. I get that. The Stars didn't make him pay. And look, it wasn't the refs' fault the Stars lost, right? I'm not here to say that, although I thought there was some soft penalty, especially early. The Perry Ruffin penalty, like that's a playoff penalty. Good night. It wasn't the reason they lost the game, but his status certainly looms large. Well, he's the Stars' number one center, and we've stated the issues with Dallas. It's their lack of offense from pretty much everybody, or at least a large part of their forward group. And if you don't have Roope Hintz, that's just another weapon the Stars do not have. That's been producing rather consistently. He's second on the team in points this postseason, and he's a part of the Stars' best line with Rantanen and Granlund. By the way, Granlund was so damn good tonight. He was phenomenal. Him and Rantanen were just working so hard. And I know this doesn't mean a lot, and maybe some Stars fans don't care, but out of all the games the Stars who got shut out so far in this postseason, they look the best in this one. And look, I know that doesn't mean anything. It's a loss, but at the same time, it's one loss, and stay off of X. There's just so many overreactions that the Stars team is broken. And look, Colorado thought they should have been up 2-0. Look where that got them. They're on the golf course, right? Relax. Stars, they lost. It wasn't their night. They didn't play all that half bad. I mean, we talked about 5-on-5. They were pretty darn good tonight. Sometimes you just don't execute, and the Stars didn't capitalize on their chances. And some of that is a credit to Edmonton. They blocked a lot of shots tonight. They made some key blocks, and also Dallas just missed the net a few times. They need to put some pucks on net. They just missed some of their chances. And 5-on-5 wasn't atrocious, Stars fans. It really wasn't. And I know the scoreboard doesn't really reflect that, but 5-on-5 shot attempts 50-38 in favor of Dallas. Shots on goal were 19 apiece. Stars had 26 chances. The high danger chances were tied at 11. And I agree with that. I don't think the Stars got enough high quality chances. They got some chances. Their expected goals for Dallas had the advantage there at 5-on-5. They just didn't capitalize. And sometimes you get beat. It's a Stanley Cup playoffs. Do not go over the edge. And yeah, you can make the argument Edmonton has outplayed Dallas for 5 out of the 6 periods, 4 out of the 6, whatever you want to call it. Well, the series is tied at 1. It's the Stanley Cup playoff. It's hard to win games. Look at Carolina. I'd rather be Dallas right now than Carolina. At least Dallas won a game. It's tough, right? But I'm not as concerned about the offense as I really am just the Roope Hintz injury. Like Dallas is a different team. Like they don't have anybody that can fill that role right now. It ain't going to be Jason Robertson, who was okay tonight, but he was okay. Johnston too. I know he had some great looks late. He had a good third period, but outside of that, not a whole lot from him. Missed a breakaway, and Dallas just struggled to finish a bit tonight. But I don't think they were all that horrible in the game. I really don't. They gave up a power play goal off of just 2 minutes for hitting. I know Stretcher turned. It put Granlund in a tough spot. I didn't love the call, and Edmonton capitalized. And the Oilers went 1 for 5 on the power play. Like that's a win if you're Dallas to give Edmonton 5 power plays. And the Stars went 0 for 2 tonight. They couldn't cash in, and they really didn't test Skinner enough. But like I said, I didn't think they played that bad. But Edmonton was better tonight. They were sharper, and that happens. I think sometimes, look, we've had this conversation, I think, multiple times, and I was told I've read the comment section before, like Stars are done, they got shut out, and then Dallas goes and completely dominates the next game. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I still have I am pretty concerned about where some others are, especially with Hintz out. But I'm not going to jump ship yet. Like Edmonton's a great team. And we thought Colorado outplayed Dallas, and they won. Like, just because you feel like they should be up 2-0 doesn't mean anything. You don't deserve to win. It's a Stanley Cup playoffs. But Roope Hintz's injury certainly looms large. And it is concerning, mainly because Dallas has gotten away with not having some of the other players pitch in, like Robo and even Johnston a bit. He's gone really quiet here. At one point in the last 2 series now, like they need some guys to step up. They do. They need some guys to step up here if they want to get through this series. I'm not trying to send the illusion that Dallas outplayed Edmonton by any stretch. They weren't good tonight. They weren't good in game one, and they won. they were awful. They were way worse in game one than they were here tonight. And I'm gonna be optimistic about it. I really am, because the first two periods of game one were atrocious. If it wasn't for the 3 power play goals, Dallas doesn't win that game. And we were going to have a lot tougher of a conversation on Wednesday night if Dallas lost that game than we are here this evening, at least in my opinion. At least in my opinion. They didn't play all that bad. Sometimes you don't execute. And yeah, like I think people, like, I get it, being shut out is bad, but who cares? It's one game. You move on. It's not like Skinner gets 2 wins for the shutout, in my opinion. And yes, it's my massive cope. Okay. Enjoy my cope today. But the Stars move on. They got some looks. Skinner made some good saves here and there, but Dallas has to pressure him a bit more. And we've touched on that. They need to make him be the difference. And they didn't hit the net on some. Edmonton had 17 blocked shots. Gosh, the amount of chances Dallas had in the middle of the slot, they got blocked tonight. Just a lot of looks that got blocked. But Edmonton's been the better team through the first 2 games. Okay, I admit that. They've been the better team. Well, now Dallas has to go on the road. They're going to have to win a game on the road anyways. So here you go. You have to go and do that. But the Hintz injury stinks, to say the least. And once again, we don't have an update. And without him, it's going to be it's going to be a tough time to win this series. It just makes the hill a bit steeper. But Dallas has found a way. And at this time of year, you just have to find a way. No one feels bad for you. And yes, should have been a 5-minute penalty, probably. But it doesn't mean you would have won the game, right? Doesn't mean you would have come back. You were down 3-0 heading into the third period. Should have capitalized on some chances earlier and made a major comeback attempt, or at least hung in the game a bit longer. But we got to talk about Hintz injury some more, how the Stars can build off of some of the positives they took from tonight. But it boils down to the conversation once again. When are some others going to step up, right? Because they need it. Otherwise, it's going to be lights out. We'll touch on that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can check all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you realize how much you're spending on some of those things like food delivery or entertainment. Now you can budget smarter and save more. It's that all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even long-term goals. Manage your money with a partner as well. It's smoother than ever. Have shared and personal accounts. You can set goals, stay on the same page, check your finances, track your spending, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Well, as I stated before the series, and I guess Dallas has gone against this trend already. They've now trailed in 12 of the 15 postseason games. As I said at the beginning of the series, Dallas needs to score first in some of these, just because of how potent Edmonton's offense is. It's going to be really hard to play catch up on this Oilers side, this Oilers team. It's just going to be really hard. And it's a tough way to live. And once again, Dallas gives up the first goal. It stunk. It was a block shot off the stick of, I believe it was Hintz, and then Nugent Hopkins had inside position on Johnston, and Johnston usually makes some pretty heads-up defensive plays. That wasn't one of them. He lost Nugent Hopkins there, and he was able to tap it in. They have to play on their front foot a bit more. But again, I like their start today. I thought Dallas had a decent start, and they were actually getting some pucks on net. I think they ended up out shooting Edmonton. I could be wrong in the first period. Let me go look at the number. 11-10, not a considerable margin, but it's the second period that's been their nemesis. They got outshot 13-5 in the frame, and they only ended up with how many scoring chances in the second period? They actually had 11, which was just kind of weird. 5 scoring chances or 5 shots, but they ended up with 11 scoring chances in the period. But their second periods have been tough. I think it was tweeted out by Leah of Dallas Morning News. I think she tweeted the goal differential in the second period. I can't find it right off the hop. It may have been somewhere else, but it may be -11 or something like it. Look, it's just not good. And it's been a reason why they've had to come back in quite a few of these postseason contests. They're just not going to be able to sustain that. And some of this comes back to the conversation we've had in the regular season. If you recall, when Dallas was winning games, just being outshot consistently and not playing very good, this sort of leads me to probably the most critical point of today's podcast to some degree, outside of Hintz. The Stars are going to have to win with very slim margins the way they're playing. You're living on the edge when you're giving up as many chances as they have, not scoring or not capitalizing some of their opportunities, or just relying on a few guys. Like, they need a lot more out of a lot of different guys. And I can scream it from the rooftops. I feel like we've touched on it a lot. Like, they need Duchene to score, and they need Marchment to score. They need Donov. They need Robertson, right? They need those guys to find a way. And I thought the Stars had some good shifts in that second period. They had a lot of pressure too early. They had a lot of good pressure on Edmonton. They were not bearing down on some of their looks. And you look at, I thought Duchene's line was good tonight. 7 scoring chances. Like, they were good. They just couldn't find the net. Right? Like, I know that's hard to hear, and maybe you disagree, but I thought the line had some great shifts today and tonight. They looked dangerous at points, and they just weren't able to bury. And it's frustrating. Don't get me wrong. And it's not good that the Stars have been shut out in 4 postseason games. They were shut out twice in the series prior, and they found a way to win. I'm going to put some stock in what Dallas has done in their first 2 series and be like, I think they're going to be okay. And they could lose, and you can live with that, right? But I think they're just finding ways to win this postseason, and maybe it's not going to be pretty, but that's just how it is. Timely scoring, timely goaltending. They didn't get it tonight. And when you live on that, you're going to have some nights like this. But even all that said, I don't think it was an awful product as a whole. I thought game 1 was worse. And they scored they came back on the power play. But 5-on-5, they weren't great, like, at all. So it's 1-1 going to Edmonton. I think Dallas is okay, but they are playing on some slim margins. They certainly are, especially, and I saw one of you wonderful Locked On Stars listeners tweet at me. By the way, follow us at Locked On Stars. I love hearing your feedback, your observations, your analysis. Gets me thinking for sure. Maybe I'm seeing stuff differently, or not seeing some stuff at all. And one of y'all wonderful tweeted at me saying that how much longer can they get away with some guys not scoring? And I think that's perfectly said. It's hard to do that. I think the series is going to go 7 games. Edmonton's been the better team in both games on the road, and they've been good on the road. They're 5-1, maybe 6-1 now. The Oilers, like it's a good club. It's a good club. I'm just trying to sort of spin this positive to some degree, but I don't even think it's really a huge spin. I think they're in decent shape through 2 games. Like they don't award series wins or the Stanley Cup at this point of the year. And Dallas, I think, is still in a good position. You can go and try to steal one on the road, and you play a best of 3. But credit to Edmonton, they were great tonight. They played solid. The Connor Brown tip in the second period was excellent. Like that's just a nasty tip. It looked like it was going to float wide. The Kulak goal. It was just really, it was a lot of this. It was a great stretch pass by Bouchard. McDavid, of course, takes a lot of attention, and then Kulak was following the play. There was nobody marking Kulak. Ranson had made a heck of a block on the shot by Kulak, too. Unfortunately, the block shot goes right on the blade of Kulak. He was smart, just swats it on net, and Ottinger couldn't get reset. And Kulak was able to beat him. And before that, Dallas had some excellent looks at the other end, and they didn't bury. They just didn't bury, and it happens. I was gonna be really, really, really atrocious, or I guess not atrocious would be the word, but maybe I was gonna be really irritated if they lost game 1. With the way they played, just because I thought it wasn't very good in all facets. I thought today they just got beat, and sometimes, well, not sometimes, it happens. it happens at this time of year. But I think there are again, they need some more from other guys. It's tough. And now you may be losing Hintz, like that stinks. That could be your series. He's more important than, he's like Roope, he's like Miro of the decor, right? Like he's their number 1 center. Dallas doesn't really have anybody else that is like Roope Hintz. Like maybe Johnston can step up and play that role. I hope so, but that's asking a lot out of your 22-year-old, center. That's a lot. And we know Duchene can't step up in that role at this point, at least production wise. So Pete DeBoer's going to have he's going to earn his paycheck. I'll tell you that as we get to game 3. I want to talk about some of the lineup changes. So Blackwell back in and Petrovic, how they fared tonight, and I guess look ahead to game 3 and what Dallas may have to come up with heading into game 3 without Roope Hintz. We'll do that in just a moment. So the Dallas Stars now have to try to operate without Roope Hintz, more than likely. And I say that just because at this time of year, of course, he didn't look good when he was going down the tunnel, but he didn't come back even on the bench. And that's just not a great sign when they don't even feel like they can at least try to get back out there for another shift. And now you're going to have to fill a gigantic void on one of your best lines. Well, not one, like the best line this postseason with your Finn line. And the Stars have already, and DeBoer have tried to jumble up the trios and get something out of some others. I'm really, really curious to see what the option is now. We'll start with Blackwell and Petrovic. I thought they were okay. Blackwell had some shifts, not a whole lot to break down. I thought they were smart additions. Like Petrovic was solid tonight. Blackwell played 6:49. Petrovic played 10:55, but nothing really stuck out to me in their play. Like they weren't on the ice for any of the goals. I think we got what we expected from Blackwell and Petrovic. I think they were the right changes too. I'd like to see Blackwell in. He's just given Dallas a good spark, and they need some of that. And Petrovic's just been so steady. They broke up Harley and Heiskanen a bit. We saw Miro with Lindell. That was nice. Not overly concerned with the Stars' defense. I didn't think they were awful tonight, even on a couple of goals. I don't think you can really blame anybody on the back end for some of those chances. I think Dallas could have been a bit better on some of their back checking, and the Brown goal was just a nice tip. But yeah, you need to be in front to try to clear them out. You need somebody there to at least provide some resistance. But now DeBoer has this challenge of possibly throwing Johnston up top with Granlund and Rantanen. I think you can leave the Duchene line together. Like they've looked okay. I think they've looked good. You just need to get one to go, and maybe it will start rolling for them. But it's the bottom six. They've just like Robo on the fourth line. He's just not a fourth line guy, right? It's just he feels like a player that just he's there, but there's not really a role. He doesn't really have a role, and I don't know if the coaching staff even knows what to sort of do with them. I would like to see him with possibly Granlund. I'd love to see him with Hintz again, but let's just say he's not out. I think Granlund could do him so good just because Gran's great forechecker, works extremely hard. Maybe can make some space for him. So maybe you see Granlund, Johnston, and Robo. Maybe that could be something. And then you got, Rantanen. Right? There's just so many combinations they could go with. We may see some weird concoctions in game 3. I just think it's going to be a tough ask. Steele, I think at this point, Steele needs to you can put Steele in the top 6 at this point. Like, give him a shot. You could even throw him up there with Rantanen a bit, and he's played alongside Steele. Rantanen's played alongside Steele and Dodonov some, just because he's been double shifting. So maybe you have Steele with Rantanen and Robo even. You could keep the Duchene line together. And you can keep Johnston with Ben and some concoction. Like I just think this Hintz injury can be a giant blow to Dallas. And I know there's a lot of. I'll read the rule book because I just want to touch on this some more. I'm kind of bitter tonight, so why not? Rule 61.1, slashing. Slashing is the act of a player swinging his stick at an opponent, whether contact is made or not. Non-aggressive stick contact to the pant or front of the shin pad should not be penalized as slashing. Any forceful or powerful chop with a stick to an opponent's body, the opponent's stick, or on or near the opponent's hands, that in the judgment to the referee is not an attempt to play the puck, shall be penalized as slashing. Well, he didn't have the puck, so that makes sense. Major penalty. A major penalty at the discretion of the referee based on the severity of the contact shall be imposed on a player / the opponent. When an injury occurs, a major penalty must be obsessed under the rule. One of my teachers, senior year in high school, used to say this: words mean things. So that's just interesting. In the rule book, it says a major penalty must be assessed under this rule when an injury occurs. Words mean things. Rule books mean something, I guess. Intriguing. Really, really intriguing. And again, I think this leads back to a lot of things, including Dave Jackson saying the result does not matter. So, anyways, but not the reason why Dallas lost tonight. Okay, that we'll get that straight. They weren't good enough, but knocking out your number one center iceman, for maybe the series. I don't like your chances. I don't like a lot of teams' chances if that happened. And yeah. Anyways, it was tough. It was a tough one tonight, but I think we can be somewhat positive going into game 3. You don't have to be, but I think we can be somewhat positive after what we saw tonight. Really, I do want to go out into some of the 5-on-5 numbers because that was something that I was very, very concerned about after game 1. Scoring chances, 26-20 in favor of Dallas. High danger chances were the same at 11. Expected goals for 2.67 for Dallas, 2.38 for Edmonton. The shots were in favor for Dallas as well. But Edmonton was overall the better team tonight. And they won. And now we're tied at 1 heading to game 3. Pretty much what I expected through 2 games. And stinks. And Dallas is really going to have to find some answers from others. We've been looking for it. Well, here's your time, right? Here's your time to buck up and make a damn difference. Let's stop saying it. I don't want to have to keep saying it. Let's make it happen now. Robertson, let's make it happen now. Johnston, let's make it happen. Marchment, let's make it happen. Duchene, do something. Make an impact. Please. Your team needs it. Stars need it if they need to move on. That's going to do it for today's episode. I'm a bit bitter, I'll be honest. I'm a bit on edge, but that's all right. Sometimes you get that way this time of year. I'm emotional. Hate to see Dallas lose, of course. But I want to thank you all for all the love and support on the recent episodes. Y'all have been phenomenal. I appreciate you all for joining me here on Locked On Stars. Please be sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. We're over 4,000 subscribers, which is phenomenal. And I'm having an absolute blast outside of the result tonight. It's been good stuff. So thank you. We'll be back on Sunday afternoon, by the way. Remember that, Stars fans. Afternoon till 2 o'clock on ESPN, Game 3 in Edmonton. See if the Stars can get it done on the road over the weekend. But first off, enjoy Memorial Day weekend. Do want to say it's a great time to reflect on all the wonderful men and women that have served this country, that have lost their lives for this country, to allow me to talk about the Stars, just talk about sports in general. We're forever grateful for what they do, to allow people like myself to do what we love every day. So of course, enjoy it. Enjoy the rest in the weekend, but do reflect on those that have laid their lives on the line for this country, and what they've done. And but also enjoy it with friends, family, and get some good food, get some good rest. And I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. And as always, go Stars. And we'll see you on Sunday afternoon, Stars fans, for a Game 3 reaction episode. We'll see you then. So long.